The tier 100 reward for this independent season of World of Tanks console is more than achievable now, with multiple weeks already completed, and of course this is the Cold War premium vehicle, the T100. Now then, is it actually worth achieving, grinding your way to season rank 100? Well, in my personal opinion, yes is the short answer. However, today's video will focus on the plus sides, the negatives, and how this tank really comes into the Cold War meta of the game. So, first things first, what is this tank? Well, it is a tank destroyer, of course. It is a tank destroyer that has the ability to dish out a lot of damage, not necessarily all in one go, but it's about being very consistent. And in this replay, it's going to showcase everything that you really need to know about the tank. It is not for those of you interested in picking up a more aggressive, super aggressive tank. It's not going to be able to do that. This tank is not a super aggressive tank destroyer. It doesn't have the armor model. At the end of the day, it's almost like having a T-34 kind of hull. A similar sort of thing, maybe slightly better, but on the ultimately it's pretty much a T-34 hull. However, this one does get a much bigger gun, and so you're able to deal 390 alpha damage every single shot that you fire, and of course you are able to reload in about 7.5 seconds, which is really nice. This tank is able to dish out approximately like 3,500 damage per minute, which in this sort of matchup is not bad at all. And remember, with Cold War vehicles, especially premium vehicles that earn increased amounts of silver, you can earn hundreds, if not 500,000 silver in one game, especially if you're using and abusing the silver boost that you get as part of this season as well. So this is something that I feel like a lot of people underutilize. A lot of people don't use their silver boosts correctly. They're using them on World War II premiums for a start. If you have a Cold War premium in your garage, which I'm sure anyone that's really watching this video and has played World of Tanks console for any length of time probably has earned a Cold War premium, jump in that, use your ×2 a silver boost, and with the upcoming event coming out very, very soon, now is the best time to really try out the T100. There'll be a 50% more silver operation coming out to tech tree vehicles in Cold War, which means that you'll be able to grind through some of the Cold War tech trees. You'll be able to get 50% more silver while playing the normal tanks in the game mode. Of course, that makes them pretty much the same as a premium tank, so you can play tech tree tanks and earn just the same amount of silver. And of course, if you're adding to that with increasing your silver by using double silver boosters, then it's going to be really nice. Either way, let's get back into the crux of this video and why I think that the T100 is not a bad tank. Remember, this is a post-war era tank, so you can come up against things like you're seeing here, the T44A, you can come up against the NM116, the T54, all of the tanks that you traditionally see in the post-war era on Cold War. And of course, when you're using a tank like this, you don't want to be going all in engagements, because primarily, as with most tank destroyers in the game, especially ones with a weaker kind of armor model, then in that kind of scenario you want to make sure that you do place yourself in a nice position where you can remain undetected, use the camo of the tank to kind of dish out a lot of damage, whether that be from long range using the accuracy, or whether you kind of sit back and kind of get involved, albeit as a support role on one singular flank. You can see here we're going for some damage on the other side of the map. You can see that we picked out the NM116 from using our actual eyes for once, rather than the big blaring red icon that hovers over a tank. Of course, the benefit of playing Cold War and having the true vision mechanic is that you can do that. Now then, having done 3,500 actual damage within this game and getting 1,000 assists, we almost throw it all away by trying to reverse and flip and do all kinds of things. But we want to make sure that we can dish out the last bit of damage within this game before it ends, and therefore we can maximise the amount of silver, because ultimately I play Cold War primarily for the silver, and this tank definitely yields that for you guys. You'll be able to benefit to the same degree as I am, and remember, once again, with the operation coming out soon, it's going to be super useful. Now then, in terms of the actual statistics of the vehicle, other than just the pure alpha damage, you have an armor model that is very mediocre. We've talked about the fact that you have the T-34 hull, but the turret armor, you can bounce a few rounds, albeit most tanks will still be able to pen you. You aren't really particularly that well armored in that regard, and so you have to rely on some of the other attributes of the tank, and those attributes, as you're about to witness in a second, are the speed of the tank. This tank is not a slow tank destroyer. It will be able to get up to speeds that you would probably want from most medium tanks in the game, if not some light tanks. If you were playing World War II, you can get up to some really nice speeds. Now, you can see here, we're just trying to put in some rounds against this M46 here, as he's trying to escape. Of course, World of Tanks, typically, you're supposed to escape flanks and relocate, but often there's like no point anyway, because you get taken out when you try and do so. But from this point onwards, 4,200 damage done, we're going to have a decent amount of silver. You're probably looking about 200,000 silver. However, you will notice in the bottom of the screen that we have had to swap to heat rounds, and that does happen with this tank. Of course, we are loading quite a few heat rounds, but that's primarily for the case of coming up against the top tier vehicles within the era. I know there's no tiers in this kind of era system that they have in Cold War, but like the top upgraded tech tree tanks in this era, since this tank is not necessarily the kind of highest level, probably most overpowered tank that you can see. Now, from this point onwards, we've got good view range on this tank. I think it's like 530 meters or something like that, so you can actually spot a lot of opponents, and you can even play it more like a medium tank, to be honest with you, but knowing that like you should take into more medium tank playstyle locations if you can. You can see here we're going after the man of war here, putting in a nice round, and then he gets taken out swiftly by the FV 4005, who was supporting us on the flank. Now then, the 165 is over there, the object, and from this point onwards, there's no point in really trying to stay back and just duke it out with the 165, because he's going to get ambushed by about the rest of our team from behind, so we may as well just YOLO in. We've got 1,500 hit points. He's only on, 500, so it's unlikely he's going to be able to take us out from full health without our team coming and intervening and just basically removing him. Now then, 165, probably a little bit more of a scary thought when you're trying to brawl one-on-one if it was on full health, because that tank is definitely going to be able to maybe bounce around from you. It's not going to bounce off of you, to be honest with you, and so yeah, you need to make sure that when you do engage targets that you do have a thought process in mind, because the DPM of this thing, all being it is okay, is not outstanding. It's no tortoise or anything like that, or any super high damage per minute tanks that you know of in World of Tanks console, so you do have to be a little bit wary. You can't just out DPM everything, but what you can do is get forward, get involved in some fights, and of course we load the HE round for the Conway / the NM116, but unfortunately we don't even manage to get any penetrating hits. I think the HE only has like 80 millipen, so I should have probably thought about that before I went in, but nonetheless we go for the Conway anyway. Conway decides he's going to try and ram us, which, I mean, wasn't a bad idea. This tank is not heavy whatsoever. We managed to bounce off of the Conway as well because of my bad aim. We don't make a bad aim again in this match, but we do use the free aim. And then we were aiming to get this NM, but he gets taken out by the T-44A. But we do pick up 5,500 damage. We pick up 1,500 assistance damage, bringing the grand total to 7,000 combined damage, which is a pretty good game in Cold War. It's not outstanding, but it did bring our base experience up to 1,500, and it did earn us 200,000 silver base in this vehicle, which was very, very nice indeed. And obviously if we had a ×2 silver, we'd have probably made about 450,000 silver, because of course there are repair costs in the amount that we earned there, and they are not kind of doubled if you do use a silver booster, so we would have earned more than double silver in this matchup. But yeah, a fantastic tank. Really did enjoy this one. A bit more novel, kind of an interesting one, looks kind of cool. really did enjoy it, and of course it is season rank 100, and I'm sure if you guys have picked it up, I want to hear your opinion in the comment section down below. But don't forget, if you are interested in seeing what the update news for this week is regarding the French sales, all of the events that are coming on, some of the bad events in the form of the trading, make sure to check out the video on the left hand side, and of course if you want more gameplay and tank reviews, check out the right hand side. Thank you very much for watching, hope you have a fantastic rest of your day and rest of your week, and I'll see you there. Goodbye.